This show is called Metamorphosis Mayhem, and you all have something to follow through. These are poems by Tani, Arness, Erin, Daughtrey, did I say that right?
Yeah, Daughtrey.
Lisa Gill, and Heatherington. So it's all yours, ladies.
Thank you, Pax. A round of applause for Pax and Gill for opening this space and hosting us here today. So, I think we're just going to dive right in. The chapbooks don't contain the same poems that we're going to read, so you don't want to try to be following along in there. That's a treat. Remember, not that you argued with your sister, but that you sang in the kitchen alone, and the house remembered a sound it had not heard in years. Remember fireflies blinking slowly in the roadside dark, and a night sky as open as the Arizona night sky. Remember, on the last night, every star in the heavens shone on that place. A comet streaked to the east, bright as a firecracker, potent, silent. Remember the vine that entered the door, and your father's voice, the softness of it, and the way his eyes lit up every time he looked up and saw you there. Remember his pleasure and his pride. The way the creek sank when the rain stopped, the 6-part insect harmony every night, and his hand on your shoulder blessing you. Remember his hands when he talks, his big, precise gestures, his carefully kept and yellowing fingernails. The black trees in silhouette against a star-strewn horizon. His voice retelling the story of your birth. When the nurse handed you to me, I felt a love I had never known before, and it has never stopped. The scent of honeysuckle, a redolent night, that infinite sky, it has never stopped.
The back deck stoops off this house, modest, not much more than a couple wooden pallets propped over dust. Choya's pink and Yucca's spike while we sit. Not far off, Javelina's snort and back their bodies under juniper into the pricking arms of hidden pinon. The desert makes sense. But sometimes you speak marsh, each says to the other. We say this making eye contact, asking without words, how come? No such thing as wetlands exist on this property, no need for mayordomo. So where did those words mangling your mouth come from, if not marsh? Now and again, you voice critters, spew sweating mammals, sulking tree-toppling insecurities. My own mouth strums reeds, melancholy minors, a full wishbone from the innards of something or other defeathered. And my sneakers remain sopping, mud-topped, while the burrs deck the back of your pant leg. The past brings common periwinkles our way, albeit invasive. All those moss graves I offered fallen birds, tree forts lined with nettle, cricks lined with logs. My legs aren't steady. Recognition is. Some things don't belong to us. They come from whispers we misheard or got right as any projection, real to real. Out here, we could sit with rattlers, invoke backwoods creature lineage, charm the pants off the past, or just watch, breath fogging fire season. We need an ice cream cart or meteors, some space at the bottom of the exhale. When communication is foggy, I want to kiss you monsoons. We are torrential, or the world is. How can we be so unperturbed? We could wither grass brittle, but land thrums blood. We listen, pinking awkwardly, as if storm carried were the equivalent of baptized. Would you like to go to my place or yours? New beginnings are feral, as is listening. Let each vortex be a vortex. We bide the questions, the time, the tenacity of doubt. Curiosity is not inquisition. What matters, we don't know. That matters. Some centuries, our mouths make mudra, bodies sitting side by side on an old porch, trembling, as if on the brink of cessation or existence. Behind us, the house walls don't even feel dependent on our origination or even relevant. Flap goes the awning. The sun overhead remains high-strung. Daily more rain evaporates than falls. A wall here would offer shade, and we speak marsh.
Memphis drowned the last descendant in the river, like a stray, roped up in the wake of a passing tugboat. Not the Nile, whose waters sing, but some muddy stretch of lilac wet that sucked the whiskey from his tongue, taking with it the song, the noise, the tone of half-opened wounds in the immortal incomprehension of wet lungs, forgetting herself in the ferocious hurry of love, eating the cold substance of melody and of sphinx moths and of the air, the God-kissed boy sinking down beneath the chorus of dirt to strike soft at some riddle of underground flowers, like his daddy, uncovering mythic bloodlines scattered about like poppy seeds, the bowed mouth forever bowed around a keening shape, looking over his shoulder as Memphis wails in his ear.
The old years sit like crows on a branch, and I greet them when passing by. Hello again. Here I am, a human being in tall dream canyons, where eventually the rivers of me find their outlets. Here I am, not alone in a self-made universe, but connected to entire cities full of people. I walk into rooms and people know my name. I speak and people understand what I'm saying. Ideas form like roses in my mouth. I leave a trail of pink flower petals and someone picks them up. This is my happiness, the way we know each other by sound and color. A little girl looks at me and speaks in purple stone. I call her name and she runs into my arms. Together, we speak light into the air around us. We say, hello, crows.
View this. A woman in a blue dress thinking inappropriate thoughts. Where are the turkey vultures when you need them? There must be some bird that can pick clean grief. On the mesa, bones of a scattered cow are sun-bleached and bright, the epicenter of the kill indiscernible amongst cholla and paintbrush. There is no mourning. A person forgets coyotes and fails to remember lowing. And why not? This is how it is. We goodbye and go on.
This is proof of loss. Absurd syllables without constriction or other artifice. This the ear should recognize. Repeat. Every member of our club has a bird. I met my father in the garden. They wore blue and green dresses. The ear, neither deaf nor dumb, requires the nuanced mumbling of skyward things to break in staggered flurries of crows that satisfy the eye's precision. See and sound. This, the picture says, is a violin played against the clavicle. And next of all things, the woodwinds, or the cello, implying the back, the frets, the sides, the strings, the fingers, the cellist, yes, the cellist, swamped in orchestral noise. Do you remember when I was a bird? I left my feathers in the garden. They were blue and green, restless. Only birds, of course, can sing and segregate the songs of fathers from the chaos of edgeless rounded vowel sounds, words guillotined at both ends in clicks of quick succession from amputating tongues. It is a heart, hard, a heart, and a limb and all men and some silence. It is a staggered flurry of some other thing, some oral tapestry swamped in orchestral noise. This, the picture says, is violent, hand splayed across the clavicle. The ear, neither deaf nor dumb, requires the nuanced mumbling of broken things to break into such furies. We dismembered the smallest of birds, a mess of feathers in the garden. The head was mute, breathless.
All night my sleep is troubled by bells. Outside, the bronze bell from my wedding, the Arco Santi bell, 3 fish leaping on the clapper, plays in the wind of a passing storm. Your love enfolds me from afar, a molecular cloak. It is in your sweatshirt that I will not take off. It is in your text messages and phone calls, in the stray black hair I find on my pillow. In your absence, I breathe you in, and the wind leaps all night like a fish and rings bells upon bells upon bells. Yesterday, I saw a small hawk on the walnut tree beside the spring house. Today, a squirrel. All day the sun lies bright and thin on still green grass and barren branches. Only the squirrel and I see it, and the little birds flitting at the feeder. The house is a container of waiting. The house is preparing to become a shroud. The house is shadows and silence, punctuated by pools of yellow light and soft voices. It is already moving into the past. The small hawk swooped down the creek and was gone. A thin wind shifted the honeysuckle that grows on a spring house. After one more departure, I too will take flight.
I want to listen to the narratives of the tiny things we never see, to harmonize with the infrasounds of elephants, sing to the pitch of cicadas. I want to hear the thrum of forest sound, the percussive songs of the cottonwood trees. You come to me like sound, like a taste of wild, a night of crickets and frogs. I want to reassure you with the haunting moan of wolf calls. I am near you. I want you to sing back to me like a howler monkey. The sound of emotion is an animal sound. A beaver whose dam was exploded by men swims circles in the night, makes the saddest sound I've ever heard. You and I have songs beyond what humans can hear, like the songs of the ants and the sea anemones. We can chorus with the spadefoot toads, but first we must listen. I put my ear to your chest. In this symphonic soundscape where every creature vocalizes in relationship with one another, we must listen for our parts, sing into the gaps where others have fallen silent. Sometimes intimacy is not what feels best, but what hurts most, like silence.
Ingot is a hard word to say. Harder still, the blasted memories, the puddling fear.
Art is an act of love, not one of mercy.
Everything circles back to that mountain, the sun, the silence.
Sometimes intimacy,
Everything circles
Art
back
is an act of
to
love,
that
It is a
mountain,
hard
not one
word
of
to
the
mercy.
sun,
like silence.
the silence,
Harder still,
Not mercy.
blasted memories.
the silence.
What hurts.
Jawbone seeds clutch and churn the ground, sprouting legs and hands and heads full of teeth all their own. No one ever saw such bodies or held such men, their lines God loved and perfumed with it, tongued by the rapt divine. Violent halos hanging over the next and the next, and the rest cropping up like wildweed. Strange orchard with strange hearts, and all the proclivities of a serpent's mouth. And you, once porous with grief, blink with wondrous eyes. Out of nowhere come the worms. No dirt, no rot, just dry leaves writhing their footstep noise. Blind pink thumbs hooking the ground of a stranger's rosy arrival. When there is no garden, we must have strangers. The uninvited are always gods or else blind and naked kings with a sledge of royalty lodged inside of their mouths, perfuming their rosy skins with the smell of fate and churning a message from some vague beyond, as though we should start a garden or build a house. Here is the wax to be made into wings. Your sons will be looked after.
And we name our daughters Dorcas or Tabitha. We remember gazelles gentle in their gliding over tall grasses. We put our hands on woven cloths and bind one piece to another with needle and thread because our daughters are beautiful. They sing to the moon, and we protect them from lions and jackals by teaching them quiet and hidden. When Dorcas died, we gathered up the robes she had been sewing. We washed her body and cried tears onto her pale skin, preparing her for other worlds. Dorcas, our beautiful gazelle, had dreamed herself too fast and high over stars and bird nests. We moved the soft cloth to wrap around her, and then we left her. Alone in a room with God, anything can happen. In her death, Dorcas sang to the water until the spirits heard her longing and wanted her to return to finish her earth-water song. Dorcas was born and she died and then she lived again. This is how some women have come to believe in impossible things. Sometimes women sing to death and sometimes death wakes up. We name our daughters Dorcas or Tabitha for gazelles, not for saints or goddesses, because we want life to be gentle with tall lilies and gliding spirits. We want to believe in miracles, but even more, we want to believe our daughters are indestructible and still soft and free as gazelles. We name our daughters Dorcas or Tabitha, that they might, in outrunning death, find themselves alone with God, eyes open, a breath, and nothing more asked.
One person stretches, and the other stoops, whim following. This is the origin of imbalance. So simple, so sudden. A hand reaches for a Chinese dictionary, top shelf song and sleeve. Another grabs after a Nicroforbus orbicalis crawling in grass, drought-resistant grandma. For a moment, our questions diverge or converge on disparity, and the universe topples assumptions. We wonder the old hierarchies, money, age, status, dirt, black and white and red all over. Logic is a joke, creeping into polarized corners of some tabloid, except we are both corpse-carrying, carcass-burying, nothing but the same old fathom-long plank of flesh to come between us, to become us. The gruesome diseases you study and the recycling beetles I watch preserve this moment, no matter how, whether injecting antibiotics or frying centipedes in honey. What wouldn't we do for the sake of this chance to be so far apart and yet so close to intimacy, ours lush with larvae, untranslatable tongues, all these bones pressing against skin, pressing against stories, dirty boy, dirty girl, balance needs nothing. You leaf the book, I pluck a stem of grass and stick it between my lips. We are so fret-free in our proximity to tales of woe and regeneration, we could almost grin, whistle.
There have been times I have cracked open like an egg, spilt, broken. There have been times I have cracked open like a seed, fast and flowering. There have been times I have cracked imperceptibly, like a favored coffee mug, a hair's breadth line slowly opening till I can't hold water. There have been times I have cracked like a vase dropped on the floor or thrown off the shelf, mendable maybe, but shattered. In no case am I ever again the same. The bean grows, the egg breaks, the cup fails and becomes a flower pot. Today I am cracking like drying clay soil. Fissures open everywhere to let the water in, hungry, yearning, imploring the bright sky for rain. Today I am cracking like clay that exposes the fertile earth beneath it, open to seed as to sky, drawing in and reaching for more. Today I am the cracked earth of a field left out in the baking sun, and you are floodwaters easing in from the acequia, full of seeds, full of life, full of stories. You are floodwaters streaming in from the river, and I gape open to let you pour. Between us, we build a soil that grows. Between us, something is rising up and blooming.
The night speaks in vowel and tree, in black absorbing white chalk of day, in stars swooping into talon. You're never too innocent to face alone the wild yellow eyes of night. It is never too late to wait, never too late to lean on silent wing. The night speaks as if happiness must be held up for inspection by moonlight, as if years never recede to strokes of dark and light, as if holding perfectly still in this moment might grant us flight. Does anyone know what it means to run deep into the shadow blue snow? It cannot be repeated. The wild round eyes of the horses are disappeared by wind. God is a galloping that merges and separates as our shadows stretch into image before us. Let us remember the moonlit meadow, lined with dark grid of trees behind. Let where we come from be a deep indigo we carry. Let animal dreams toss white glimmer against our black winter coats and erase the striving for what comes after. We can leave no mark beside our breath against shadow. Let us love the dash of night that is all wild and breath.
We go mad with dandelions, and the world goes stupid at the seams. Spring then, with everything fucking madly as wildflowers and blooming its hungry crops. Everything eating its way through the dirt with a female sweetness, the restless dead engorged with sun and seed. Drowned bodies rising with the water lilies as their colors compete for relevance. Such beauty never found its mark.
Twilight on the farm, mind full of fragments, heart full of echoes, peacock like a car alarm in the dark. Love me, love me, love me, he cries. Venus shines in the shadow of the cottonwoods. Lighted windows in the dusk, the frog-ridden pond creaking softly, fire on the hearth for a cold spring night that should be summer. One cat by the fire purrs, love me, love me, love me, the cry of every soft thing in the night.
Picture this. Some giant cottonwood, rings alternately hard-pressed and swelling, record of every drought and monsoon required to tap sky. This tree now splayed, fully stumped by circumstance, and here, in this impromptu midnight, suddenly cleared of day's expectations, we find the chopped circumference of upward motion, this once harrowed happening, to be an invitation we are ready finally to heed, to rest our rumps, lean a bit, and accept the curve of shoulders, interplay of fingers, every negative space, molecules of risen river, tracing the contours of our apart and our together, deciphering even the smallest juncture of connection, lips or nape, thigh and shoulder blade. My legs root into the earth, some hot core, and you for a moment balance against me, both of us connected to the substrata of another body, commingled weight carried by tree and earth, our minds cloudlit by city refraction. Who said river and who said yes? The traumatized or the traumatized? Yes, my brain lights up on MRI, starlight, bright patterns of grief and glow. Bright patterns, but who said river and who said yes?
In a land shaped by water and defined by its absence, I'm raining.
We will be dead already by the time our light has reached the stars.
You are either speaking the truth or you are lonely.
In a land shaped by water
Who said
and
right?
defined by its
We will be dead
absence,
already.
I'm raining.
Our light has reached the stars.
Who said yes?
We women carry mayhem in the ruffles of our skirts. We pick figs each September and spread sunflowers over ditches. We wallow thigh-high in mud and laugh at lightning strikes. Our thoughts have turned to metal rods, and still we walk out into the rumbling rain. We are both brave and terrified, crying only to the night. And only pain can change us, they say, the saints, though every day we see other women chasing the bliss they had yesterday. The men with groaning pleasure, the kissed neck, the first moment in a vast meadow of June wildflowers. Such fear and hope held in bedside table drawers. We are no longer little girls scattering seeds, scared to death of not knowing what comes next. We have learned to smile and keep hurrying to on time. We have taken our children by the hand and prayed silently for help. And when help didn't come, we kept running through the sand, looking for ocean. This, my friends, is where we spin and twirl and then give up, but just for one night, until the wind kicks in and the windows rattle us back to the gods we were breathing. This, my friends, is where the anger becomes streaming back to the sidewalks where we were dancing under street lamps, covered in mud and electricity, with every ripe green fig and yellow sunflower calling us to become more of who we are, more fig and seed, more soft, more sinuously made of light.
Rain drumming on the earth, drumming, pausing, and drumming through our hands, pat, tap, slap, caress, and sigh of falling water through arching bodies and into the earth outside. You have the wisdom to do this. Water from the sky, water in the pools, water dancing in a tear-filled gaze. On the last day, a rainbow. In the morning, I rise and dance, standing still, breathing, watching your eyes, I dance. Heart to heart, without moving, we dance. And your eyes dance, watching rain and hands and bodies learn this wisdom, open to water, ebb and flow in the sacred trust of our bodies upon this earth. And then in night silence, the sigh and scent of hot water steaming beneath an infinite spill of stars. Surge and surge again, and pause. Our bodies know this pulse. Roll of thunder down red cliffs. Cottonwoods shake their leaves on the riverbank. Roots twine through mud and rock, glint of sun on the wing of a dragonfly. In the night, hands and tongues open gateways, mysteries, body and breath. And the gate stands open in the morning light, self-knowledge awakened. Hunger rises in the heart, desire without object. I carry that space and surrender. Trust in a process I only partly understand, but feel in my body, embodied. If I am closed, I will open. If I am empty, I will be filled again. If I am full, I will overflow and turn toward emptiness. Surge and pause and surge again and pause. The silence shapes the rhythm. Days later, rain on the roof as my hands ride the body of my lover, rain in a dry place, a dry year, falling and falling. As the night wears on, the miracle not stopping. Dawn breaks red and gold on a land gone flat with water. Expansion furls into containment, a bowl at the base of my spine. In that bowl, a blossom, opening and closing in the heartbeat of days, drinking and creating the sweet, clear nectar of the root.
I slept in a cave and dreamt that I found a coyote print next to my head in the morning. Or rather, I slept in a cave and found a coyote print next to my head in the morning. The mockingbird at dawn chastised me for forgetting my dreams. When I woke, I saw the moon finally risen and the sun cusping, and I thought, circle with a dot in the middle. I watched the brightening sky from the cave while a dove ate red ants outside the entrance. Then I gathered vertebrae of a long-downed cow from under choyas and juniper. Every bright spot on the mesa was a little bone airplane, which I picked up, or some femurish hunk of what used to be mobile, which I left behind. Nearby on boulders, stick deer and coyote, an upside-down man, plus my initials carved next to the year 1930. I threw my leg over a rock and my hip cramped down hard as if to lock me into place. I stayed like that, astraddle, until the pain released me to the ground.
They are indiscriminate thoughts. The ocean, curling over itself in a drowsing lid, slurried, and the hawk that was in yesterday's tree. The sound the wind makes in the gables of some imaginary house, or that pinging noise that one can make by hitting the wrong parts of guitar strings. The hawk, of course, had a dove unfurled in his mouth, and there were feathers everywhere. It wasn't even yesterday, and we stared at each other as big as omens. Wildfires, chariots, how some horses are hard to control, and the mechanics of breathing rust over while the image fixes itself upon the palate. There is blood, of course, in the tree, and more feathers and other things. Eyes as big as dinner plates. It's impossible to ever really sleep in the springtime, noiselessly or featherless, or uncurling in the rolling drowse of the tide. Chariots, wildfires, words.
Mountains rise on 5 sides, then fall to our feet with the weight of unwritten letters. One mouth opens, there's gravity, pine, pine, field of grasses bending. Mountains rise on 5 sides, then fall to our feet with the weight of unwritten letters. Pine, pine, field of grasses bending. I scoop a handful of dirt, fill my pockets, look at
Folded
you.
in the soft
Can
yellow
we keep
ochre,
this?
we uncover the willfulness of the
Mountains
species,
rise on
its
5
penchant for
sides,
golden
then
rings and its
fall to our
schizoid
feet with the weight
digressions,
of
testing
unwritten
its
letters.
metal,
One
the
mouth
willfulness of
opens,
the
there's
species,
gravity.
its penchant for
Pine,
golden
pine,
rings
field
and
of
its
grasses
schizoid
bending.
digressions.
The dirt is
I am
deep.
almost twilight.
Uncover the willfulness of the
I am
species,
almost home.
testing its metal.
I am cracked by 1,000 birds crossing the darkening sky.
Can we keep
You
this
are a silhouette. You are a storm cloud.
rings and its schizoid
You are half of
digressions,
every strand of
testing
DNA
its
in my
metal against
body.
raging swirls and
The storm strains inside my skin. The storm is breaking. You will never be merely memory. You are a kind hand resting on my shoulder. You are a wild anger against the world's injustice. You are survived by 2 daughters, 2 brothers, and the work of your hands. Your memory moves in this cracking twilight. Like the light, you have gone home.
The beautiful drift of women who would be
She
vessels.
stood blackened like ink in the depth of a
The
well,
sudden bloom of teeth like
shining beneath the glisten of water. She
Pine,
sang
pine, fields of
until they
grasses
came,
bending. Can we keep this?
emerging from the shadows,
What
arms
kind of horizon
extended,
is
covered
this?
in crows,
Can you keep this?
I
shining
am almost
beneath
twilight.
the glisten of water.
Beautiful.
Her eyes curl.
I'm almost home.
It took 1,000 snow weeks to
Pine,
leave her
pine,
back
fields
to
of
the
grasses
surface.
bending. Can we keep this?
Pine bending, fields of grasses. Can we keep this?
Folded in the soft yellow ochre, we uncover the woefulness of the species,
I am
its
almost
penchant for
twilight.
golden rains and its schizoid digressions, testing its mettle against ranging swans and gadflies with an embarrassing innocence the color of grain.
You are
The beautiful
silhouette.
drift of women who would be vessels,
I am cracked
a
by
field full of
1,000
red-haired
birds.
prophets,
Shining
the sudden bloom of teeth like
Fields of
wild weed,
grasses bending.
and there in the ochre its child heart tucked inside a bird's belly,
fields
preening some
Pine,
amazement of
pine,
wounds,
fields of grasses
calling the
bending.
soundless
Can we
names
keep
of
this?
famous sons in a sudden and motherless archaeology,
I am almost
some aperture
twilight.
of divine
I
madness.
am almost
I've
home.
been here before.
We have been here before.
Look how shoulders daily return to the birth canal, bodies bent round memories of curve and hell, all the
Fields of
small
grasses
places,
bending.
cellars and closets
Can we
hiding
keep
such
this?
holes we centuries
We have
past,
been
minds
here
spin round the sun,
before.
kiss our bodies, practice detachment, and
We have
arise
been
in
here
can we
before.
keep this? Pine,
Pine, fields of grasses bending.
Can
Can
we
we keep this? Erin, Daughtrey, Tani, Arness, Lisa Gill, and Heatherington. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.